10-second delay between which the motion is called. I didn't vote, so this is a good example. So we have a 10-second delay between when the motion is called for council to vote. We have a 10-second window within which to cast our vote. So we have 10 seconds to make up our minds and press our buttons, hopefully within that 10 seconds. So yes, I do vote in favor of excusing Councillor Meisner this morning. The second item on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting? Moved by Councillor Harding, seconded by Councillor Hurdle. Any discussion on the motion? Any comments on the agenda? Additions, deletions, thoughts? Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise, please signify in the usual fashion. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Before we move to the next item, I just want to note that today is April 18th, marks 3 years since the mass shootings happened in Portapique, Nova Scotia. We have our flags lowered to half-mast in recognition of this event, and we will be having a moment of silence at 12 o'clock in conjunction with the rest of the province. So I do have an alarm set for 11:58, so if you hear my phone ringing, it's just to give me some advance notice so we don't miss it. So we will be marking that at 12 o'clock. Item 3 on our agenda is disclosure of conflict of interest issues. Does anyone wish to declare conflict of interest with any of the items on our approved agenda this morning? I see no conflict of interest issues. Item 4, approval of the minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes ahead of us this morning, March 15th, March 21st, and March 22nd. I would look for one motion to approve all of those minutes if council should allow it. Moved by Councillor Harding, seconded by Mayor Matart. Discussion on the motion to approve those 3 sets of minutes. Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise, please signify in the usual fashion. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Council. Is there any business arising from the March 15th set of Committee of the Whole minutes? Okay. Was there any business arising from the March 21st Committee of the Whole meeting minutes? Of course, that was our regular Committee of the Whole meeting. The 15th was a budget meeting. And the next being March 22nd, is there any business arising from the March 22nd minutes? Of course, that was another budget meeting. Okay, I have no business arising from any sets of minutes. So we'll move on to item 6, presentation. We have the Avon Street Erosion Committee here presenting this morning, Garrett Johnston and Ron McDonald, I believe. So I'm inviting you up to the podium. The floor is yours to make your presentation. Welcome to Committee of the Whole this morning. Very
much. Ron sends his regrets due to a onset ailment. So it'll just be myself and Janie McDonald.
Welcome.
Good morning. Deputy Mayor, councillors, employees of Kings County, members of the public. As stated, my name is Garrett Johnston, and I'm here today on behalf of the Avon Street Erosion Committee. This committee was formed to help the citizens of Avon Street on the water side to find a solution to repair existing bank infrastructure protection. Our objective is to slow down and stop the current devastating losing battle against tidal erosion from the Avon River. As we know, it's one of the most powerful tides in the world. In 1976, the provincial government set in place a project to deposit grey-wacky armor stone by hydraulics along the water frontage above the high water mark from 162 Avon Street up to Fundy Centennial Park. It's about 42 pin properties. In many areas, this 1976 initiative is all but gone, mainly due to rising sea levels, extreme climate change weather events, and human activity in many areas along the Avon River and its tributaries. Most notable, the new construction of the causeway in Winsor. And we'll leave that one alone. They've got enough on their hands with that project. Some of our properties that are currently left with no protection are experiencing the land simply being deleted at a rapid rate. This is also causing a domino effect to which it is spreading to the neighbors next door and causing undermine and collapse of our backyards. We collectively come before you today to ask for immediate assistance. The areas of need are a letter of support for our project, to pursue available funding to hire of a project resource to assist in the application process for the Federal Disaster Mitigation and Adaptation Fund, perform an environmental impact assessment, and we're also looking as a committee for your collaborative effort with Hants County, the provincial and federal entities, to form a working synergy to implement a project to replace and repair that current infrastructure to last future generations. The act of doing nothing is not an option. In addition to its impact on the environment, tidal erosion will also have a significant impact on our home community. The loss of coastal land due to erosion will lead to loss of property, home, infrastructure, and cause displacement in our community and place financial harm to our local economy. We also see this as a great avenue to build on our partnerships with our governmental neighbors in Hants County. Much like our nature of the people of this province, we ask our neighbors for help. You are our neighbors. Will you help a neighbor in the time of need? I will now walk us through a short slide deck that was put together by the committee to show what the issue is at hand. So this is the affected area from the Fundy Gypsum plant down to 162 Avon Street. This is a very dramatic view of 118 Avon Street. As you can see, this is the cause of having no bank protection left that was disposited in 1976. The inside of the circle to the edge is roughly, I would say, 10 to 12 feet easily. And this is most dramatically in the last 6 months. So this was taken on March the 1st. This is a more aerial view. You can see the homeowners' initiative or attempt to keep it at bay. Everywhere else was where the 1976 Grey-Wacky Armor Stone was deposited, which is all but gone. This is the domino effect that I referenced. This is the neighbors heading east along the riverbank, and it's a hard image to see from likely where you're sitting, but as you can see, there's no Grey-Wacky Armor Stone left to provide any protection. And those stairs you see in the corner top right, they were accessible and sound Christmas time of last year. And we had to make all recommendations and essentially condemn them ourselves because they were collapsing and unsafe for use. So this is our impact statement we have on the tidal erosion for the Manus Basin. I won't read it aloud, but I encourage you all to do so. Our history, as I stated, back in '76, the provincial government, the Department of Agriculture, and the town of Hantsport set in place a project to deposit that Grey-Wacky Armor Stone along the riverbank's edge above the high water mark. And today there hasn't been any maintenance on this infrastructure unless it's been done by the homeowner themselves. And in the 2010 to 2023 timeframe, we have accelerated the devastation through the erosion, resulting in the pictures that you just saw. And as I stated, the act of doing nothing is obviously not an option for us. We definitely need assistance to put in place something that will hold this powerful tide back. This is the contract from the 1976 initiative, just outlining what was in place for that. And in summary, We, the Avon Street Erosion Committee, we're asking for your assistance and all support in all ways possible. We have begun the process of applying for the Disaster Mitigation Adaptation Fund through the federal government, and its laborious and challenging application that is better received in support or made in conjunction with our municipal and provincial governments. We are humbly requesting your financial assistance to assess the environmental studies of the area, any other valid information needed to support and complete our application successfully. And we also appreciate any and all possible avenues that you may be aware of. I'd also like to add in my summary an invitation. April 26th, 6 p.m. at 118 Avon Street. We invite all councillors, members of the Kings County Employment to come and have a look at the devastation yourself to get a first-hand. I mean, pictures say 1,000 words, but seeing it in the flesh is obviously what we'd like to have you guys do. So please come by 6 p.m. April 26th, 118 Avon Street.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
And deeply sorry for the situation that's brought you here today. Are there questions from council this morning for Garrett? Go ahead, Mayor Mattart.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for your presentation. And we had a look at your photographs before you arrived here, so they're quite telling. I did have a few questions, just for clarification purposes. What, generally speaking, what's the height of the bank, and what's the drop?
So from the backyard down to the...
Yeah. From the top of the cliff to the water.
Sure. So it varies throughout the street, but to average it, it's about 20 to 25 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long with respect to properties that you are personally aware of,
Mm-hmm.
How much erosion has taken place over the last...
I don't have a specific
10, 15.
measurement. I don't have the tools to do those measurements.
I just thought anecdotally there might be some information.
Yeah, what we've started to doing is compiling data from aerial footage shots of years gone by from the provincial government, and we've yet to establish a scale of measurement to say exactly this is how much we've lost, but the amount of times we've had to move our property markers back, I would easily speculate 10 feet plus.
Yes.
In certain areas, for sure.
I know in the area of Kingsport in Kings County, they've, cottages on one side of the road have actually been moved to the other side of the road, and then the road disappears, and then they have to build another road and so on. This is a very difficult thing to control.
Very much so.
Have any formal studies been done to this point in time?
Formal studies?
Yes, in terms of what can be controlled and to what extent?
We certainly take case studies that have been implemented in previous projects. We're obviously exploring not just aggregate, but other innovative technologies to implement and see if it's a viable option for our conditions that we are experiencing on Avon Street. One of the areas that we're exploring and researching is geofabrics. They have a lower carbon footprint of hauling in aggregate and just dumping it over. As you know, if we're dumping in 1976 and 2023, that's close to 50 years, and I'm going to subtract, say, 10 years from some areas that rock lasted. Well, these geofabrics have 1,000 years lifespan, and they're immovable. That's the problem that we have on Avon Street. Is it's not just the tide and the water, it's the ice that pounds up against these infrastructures And then when the soil is bare, like you saw in the photos, we also have wind and rain erosion. So we get it all from several factors. This equation is not just simply add more rock. It's very many variables that will need to come together to find the solution.
Just a couple of more short questions, if I may, Madam Chair. Is any portion of this property in Kings County, just so we can talk about
Absolutely.
jurisdictions for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. So Avon Street is unique, as Hansport is. That street, Tannery Road, going down almost the middle of it, is the hard intersecting line between Hants and Kings County. So we're pretty well 50-50, right in the middle. And we presented to...
With respect to the shoreline itself, or?
Can you, sorry, what was the question?
With respect to the shoreline itself.
So the ownership of the shoreline is still a debating topic. Who owns it? Is it provincial? Is it federal? We're hoping it's not federal because we're applying for federal loans or funding. Sorry. So
you're hoping it's not, or you're hoping it is federal?
Well, if it is federal, then we immediately we can't apply for this federal disaster mitigation adaptation fund. It can't be a federally owned project to go after that funding. Now, that's just one piece of the funding that we're exploring. There's obviously other avenues, but this was the funding that was recommended to us by elected officials.
So it's a tidal river, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Navigable waterway. My suspicion is that it's federal, but you'll be exploring those avenues. The last comment I had was, or a query I had was that your group has made a presentation to the municipality of the county of West Hants.
Correct.
And what's your response been from them?
Our immediate response was positive. There was a motion made on the floor to collaborate with the employees of Kings County, and I've followed up with them since, and they are attending our meet and greet on the 26th to provide what the action of that, or the outcome of that action has been.
I don't think they've had an opportunity to do that yet.
They set a month
I see.
in place after that action for follow-up.
All right, thank you. Those are all my questions.
Thank you,
Thanks
Mayor.
for your presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. Got a few more lights on, so if you don't mind hanging in there.
Of course.
Councillor Hurdle.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you, I've got a couple questions. One, I have drone footage from about 5 years ago from the very area. I still have to dig it out, but would that be useful in tracking a record of the receding shoreline?
Absolutely. A lot of our images that you saw tonight were from a drone footage captured just recently in March? Yeah, so that would be most helpful for us, exactly.
So perhaps you could send me an email after the meeting and then we could arrange the exchange of files.
Absolutely.
My second question, can you give us more details on the armor stone that you referenced and when it was placed and what that did, the period of time it was in place?
Sure. So it's all connected to the timeline of the original causeway. That armor stone was placed, the contract states, it was, term of license shall be formed in the first date written above until the 30th day of June 1977. The contract itself is dated the 8th of December 1976. And they had placed, like I say, gray rocky armor stone, a good geology stone, if any geologists in the room, to help, because of, again, the geology of Avon Street is a lot of sediment and sand. So that doesn't hold up well against tidal erosion. So they had placed in the contract here stone from the Fundy Gypsum Plant, which is now Fundy Centennial Park, all the way to the front along the riverbank to 162. So I'm not really sure exactly what you were looking for, but I can certainly elaborate further if you wish.
I have one final question. I had the pleasure of attending a conference in Prince Edward Island around asset management, and one of the presenters was the city of Summerside, I believe, and they had talked about some of their efforts to armor some of their property. Is Armorstone the solution right now, or have we upgraded how we protect coastal shorelines from erosion since the 1970s?
To say that as a blank statement would be wrong, I would say. I think Armorstone has a place in the equation to find the solution, but with innovative and technology advancements that we've been exploring, I think the combination of both geofabrics and Armorstone, natural aggregate, would certainly suffice in a infrastructure solution for many years to come. You know, just every winter I see Armorstone scattered upon the beach from being picked up from ice flats and carried away. So if we have a, as they call it, an immovable mass with a geofabric technology, I think that the two of them combined would certainly be what would be a viable solution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Killam.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, through you to Mr. Johnson. Has there been any engineering estimates as to the cost of this project?
Nothing that I can bring forth to council. We've had several companies and business owners come by and look at what we're dealing with, and they just basically throw numbers at it. The best pitch, I guess, I've been given is $95 an hour, $250 a load, times however many loads would be needed, and I don't know how many that would be.
The other question is, I believe, is that a regional sewer?
It is.
Next to the bank there?
That's correct.
Is that something we own?
That's owned by the West Hands.
West Hands.
Yeah, and I believe you guys have contracts. Yeah, yeah. It's got a West Hands sign in front of the gate, I believe.
It's fairly close to the bank too, isn't it?
Oh.
Yeah, and to...
Staff are saying it's actually ours.
Oh, is it yours?
Yeah.
Okay,
I thought it
sorry,
might
my
be,
apologies.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It is in Kings County, so...
Okay, then that's probably under a bit of threat too.
Yeah, as you can
Future.
see, the north, I believe that's called North Stream or North, I think that's the name of that tributary that you see flowing into the Minas Basin there.
Yeah, well, thank you for those answers, and I guess we all know there's a lot of issues surrounding this business of erosion and in the Minas Basin area, and also, of course, along Bay of Fundy too. So maybe we'll get the attention of the feds and the province and move forward on some of these projects. Thank you.
Thank you. All helps.
Councillor Granger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Erosion is such a natural thing, and it's going to happen because Mother Nature just makes it happen. It's only going to get more challenging as well. So I'm wondering, are you working in phases, or because this is going to be an ongoing, this isn't going to go away, and it's not going to get better. So I'm wondering how you're planning to work on that phase-wise, because if you get funding now, that could be gone within years.
Sure. So it's a great question. We certainly haven't developed a project plan to that detail yet. We first need to identify the scope. And the scope is to stabilize the foundation of this bank protection infrastructure. That is the most crucial. And then, as you say, we can look at different phases to implement a solution to get that ROI, the longest and best of what we invest in it. But to elaborate on phases of a project right now. We're too far in the infancy of this project to be able to answer your question appropriately.
Okay, and would some of the funding go towards engineering and phased engineering?
Certainly, it would be advantageous to do so, for sure. We're looking to have all the engineering that we can to put into this to ensure that return on investment is being capitalized and being stretched as far as we can take it.
Right. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you to Mr. Johnson. Have any of the present property owners on Avon Street recently replaced that armor rock that had washed away?
There are a couple property owners that have the ability to do and have done so. They have access to bring aggregate in. Some don't. I was able to by cutting my hedge down from between myself and my neighbor and dumping over a few loads of aggregate just to help stabilize things. But as I mentioned, if we don't stabilize the base, then we're essentially dumping our money over the bank for no prevail. So to answer your question is yes, there is a few homeowners that have tried and have aggregate dumped over the bank.
And not all property owners would have access to the bank, would they? Their property wouldn't be wide enough to have a truck back over?
That's
Is that
correct. Yeah.
Very good.
And what we're finding now is the liability of doing that, dumping it from the top, having the bank unstable and at a constant moving rate. We deemed it a high risk of performing that act. So we really need to get down to the bottom of the bank and stabilize it from that direction.
I missed the civic address where you're going to have that.
118.
118?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll see you there.
Great.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Hurdle.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I thought of a couple more questions as discussions led on. And perhaps you already mentioned this. How many families are impacted by the potential erosion along this shoreline?
So families, there's 30, I believe the number is 37. There's 42 pinned properties. But with dwellings that have families in them, I believe it's 37. What's the last count?
And have you experienced any pushback from environmental concerns or agencies regarding the reinforcing of this bank?
Not to date. I spoke with several provincial officials, the COO of Public Works, Director of Agriculture. Can't remember the title of the Kevin Baker's. However, no pushback to date, nothing but support.
And a timeline, if the status quo is maintained, do you know what that means, how much erosion will happen based on a timeline, and will there be any destructive loss of property or homes, and what time how long would that time take for that to happen?
So the erosion rate is a variable rate. It all depends on our weather conditions that we experience through the calendar year, how high our tides are. As we know, we can get a 15-meter tide, and that is a very, very detrimental tide to us. If we have hurricanes throughout the year, massive storms, rainstorms, a lot of rain and wind. So to be able to determine a rate of erosion today would be unrealistic. Certainly it's higher in some areas than others, but our most impacted area, the rate of erosion that they're experiencing is 10 feet in 12 months.
That's a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Mayor Matar.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Through you, Mr. Johnson, I'll put you on the spot here. What, if you could summarize for me in a sentence or two, what's the specific ask of your group to this municipality?
So, in my spiel, I've asked for four areas that we really need assistance. With the Disaster Mitigation Fund, there's obviously some add-ons that we need to include in that application. Letters of support from councils. We need a project resource. We really need a project resource to spearhead this initiative, to get the funding in an application submitted on time. We have a deadline of July of this year. And a part of that application is also environmental impact assessment. As we all know, today's age, environment is very much a key piece of any project or initiative undertaking, especially when you're dealing with tidal erosion. So we certainly need assistance with an impact assessment on what this is going to do to the environment and how we can minimize it. And then working with West Hants. As I mentioned, they're almost 50% stakeholders in this too. But as you will see on April 18th, the erosion in the Kings County side is much more dramatic than it is in the Hants County side. And that is due to several reasons. One being the protection of the Bundy Gypsum plant of tidal movement and et cetera, and the orientation of some properties. They face northeast, so any nor'easter we get, it's a pounding effect. So I would say that would be the major asks is to make this project successful and continue it forward.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. No further questions. So our usual process is not to, we just receive presentations at this moment in time, and then there's an opportunity either later in this meeting or in our special council meeting after this meeting. We have 2 meetings today, to potentially have some further discussion on this, but I can assure you we'll get back to you, and just thank you very much for coming today, and reiterate that I'm terribly sorry that you're facing this issue in your backyard, and we'll be in touch.
Excellent. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Thanks for being here. Thank you. Okay. We'll move along to item 7 on our agenda. Under administration, we have Ahmed Ali here with us this morning. 3 proclamation requests ahead of us this morning. The presentation floor is yours. Ali, go ahead.
Good morning. Well, thank you for having me today. Yes, we have 3 proclamations today, so I appreciate your time. So I'll start with the first one here to present a proclamation request for the Gaelic Nova Scotia Month 2023. So this request originates from our strategy for belonging as well as proclamations policy COM 02003. My intent today is to present the proclamation request in accordance with a municipality proclamation policy. Section 4.1, the proclamation policy states that it's the policy of the council to consider requests to proclaim certain causes, which is such proclamation positively impacts the community. Nova Scotia began celebrating Gaelic Nova Scotia months in May 1996, meaning in 2023, this year will be the 27th year of recognition. This month serves as an opportunity to celebrate and create awareness of the Gaelic heritage that is home to the Nova Scotia. The theme of this year Gaelic Nova Scotia Month is Yes to Gaelic. While other provinces across Canada that has been known to have Gaelic speakers population In their throughout history, Nova Scotia is the one province where the Gaelic culture established roots and grew for generations to survive, according to the Gaelic Nova Scotia Affairs. For a time, Nova Scotian history, Gaelic was the third most spoken language in the province, and Nova Scotia is still home for approximately 2,000 Gaelic speakers. Further, a Gaelic Nova Scotia Month's proclamation assists in creating awareness of Gaelic culture that grew in Nova Scotia after the proclamation of the Gaelic speaker immigrants from Scotland and Ireland settled. These Gaelic roots are part of the province's heritage. There will be no financial implication to this decision, and this request aligns with our strategy plan, specifically with the strong communication played by the strategy of belonging. Publishing proclamation to the municipality website and social media platform, and read proclamation in the Gaelic Nova Scotia Month's proclamation event. That will be the implementations. And there is a request is accordance with the municipality proclamation policy COM 02003, and there will be a community event will be held. Well, there is an alternative there. The municipal council may choose not to proclaim May as a Gaelic Nova Scotia month, and our recommendation that the community of the whole, that the municipal council proclaim May 2023 as a Gaelic Nova Scotia month in the municipality of Kings County.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the presentation this morning? Councillor Granger?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. It's been 27 years going on in the province. Is this King's first time proclaiming this?
I believe we have done it once before, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe my manager here, I can leave that to Brittany if she can correct me on that.
One other time.
One.
Yeah.
Well, this is great because we're New Scotland. I think this is a wonderful thing for us to kind of add to our monthly or our yearly calendar. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Killam.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Do you have any estimate in Kings County how many Gaelic heritage?
Hard to say.
Hard to say? Yeah,
hard
just
to say.
curious. Thank you.
Yeah.
Perhaps we could
Good presentation.
find one of them to read our proclamation in Gaelic. Or we could let the mayor try his hand at it. Wonderful. Ali has kindly read our recommended motion. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Allen, seconded by Councillor Granger. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise, please signify now. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Go ahead.
All right, moving to the second proclamation for Asian Heritage Month will be also in May, and this request originates from our strategy of belonging as well as proclamation policy COM 02003. And my intent to present the proclamation request in accordance with the municipality proclamation policy. For section 4.1, the proclamation's policy states that it's the policy of the council to consider requests to proclaim certain causes which such proclamation positively impacts the community. Asian Heritage Month has been celebrated since 1990. In December 2001, the Senate of Canada adopted a motion proposed by Senator Vivian Poe, Canada's first Chinese-Canadian senator, to officially designate May as an Asian Heritage Month in Canada. In May 2002, the Government of Canada signed an official declaration to announce May as Asian Heritage Month. Proclaiming and celebrating Asian Heritage Month allowed the municipality to celebrate contribution from persons of Asian descent throughout the King's region and beyond. Further, as Asian Heritage Month proclamation assists strengthening relations between the municipality and diverse communities, build public trust and improve collaboration, and contributes to the municipality vision of being a community of communities where all people belong. There will be no financial implication to the decision, and this request align with our strategic plan, specifically with the strong communities player by the way of the strategy of belonging. The implementation will occur by publishing the proclamation on the municipality website and social media channels. The engagement around this work is ongoing as we continue to build a healthy relation with the Asian community on individual and collective level. The council always have the alternative not to proclaim for the proclamation for the council not to choose to proclaim May as Asian Heritage Month in the County of Kings, and our recommendation to the community of the whole to proclaim to the municipal council proclaims May 2023 as Asian Heritage Month in the county.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Councillor Granger?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, this is great to see because our province is changing up quite rapidly. I was wondering if you could give a shameless plug to the Asian concert that's happening.
Right, through you, Deputy Mayor. We're working right now with the Asian community, and there's actually concert scheduled for May 13th, and I hope it's gonna be there because we're still doing the final touches on it, but pretty much it's a solid event to celebrate Asian Heritage Month in the province, and I believe that's the first time we have ever done it in the municipality.
Okay, great. Thank you. We'll await further details and mark our calendars. Any further questions of the presenter? Seeing none, the motions that Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council proclaim May 2023 Asian Heritage Month in the municipality of the County of Kings. We will move over the motion. Moved by Councillor Allen, seconded by Councillor Hurdle. Discussion on the motion. Mayor Matar.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll obviously be, not obviously, but it will be after I'm finished speaking, be voting in favor of this motion. This is one of those motions for acknowledgement and celebration that elevates, acknowledges and celebrates our multiculturalism that is embraced by this municipality, and our intentional inclusion of the pretty much a broad variety of individuals of different cultures that live within our municipality. I think it's an important recommendation, and I'll certainly be voting in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Matar. Anything further from council this morning? Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise of the motion, please indicate now. 2 down, 1 to go. Go ahead. Our motion carried unanimously. Go ahead.
That's the last proclamation today. It's for International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia. This request originates from our strategy of belonging as well as proclamation policy COM 02003. My intent today is to present the proclamation request in accordance with the municipality proclamation policy. Section 4.1, the proclamation policy states that it's a policy of the council to consider requests to proclaim certain cause when such proclamation possibly impacts that community. May 17th began to be recognized the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia, IDAHTB, in 2003. The 17th day of May was chosen because on that day in 1990, homosexuality was finally taking off the world Health Organization WHO list of mental disorder. This day of recognition was pushed forward by the Foundation Emergency in Quebec over the years. Recognition of that day has been spread across the world. Proclaiming IDAHTP in the municipality of the County of Kings affirms support of the community by honoring full range of lived experience present in the Kings region. Further, proclaiming IDAHTP by the municipalities align with the equity, inclusion, and diversity lens of the strategy of belonging. It allows the municipality to celebrate the achievement, made gender diverse folks across the county. Proclaiming IDAHOTP also support the municipality vision of being a community of all communities where all people belong. There are no financial implications to the decision. This request aligns with our strategic plan, specifically with the strong communities played by way of the strategy of belonging. But there will be a publishing the proclamation to the municipality website and social media platforms, and read official proclamation at the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia. Engagement around this work is ongoing as we continue to build healthy relation with all communities. This proclamation request is in accordance with the municipality proclamation policy COM 02003. The Municipal Council may choose not to proclaim May 17th as International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia, and our recommendation to the Committee of the Whole that Municipal Council proclaim May 17th, 2023 as International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia.
Okay. Any questions of the presenter this morning? Okay. Councillor Armstrong, go ahead.
I'm just trying to bring the proclamation up if I could just give me a second.
Page 29.
Yeah, I'm just curious to know, and you know, maybe it's a question I shouldn't ask, but the last paragraph says, therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Matart, following unanimous resolution of the council. Why does it specify unanimous rather than a majority? None of the other proclamations say that. I have no doubt it'll be unanimous, but.
Okay, sorry, in which paragraph?
The very last paragraph. Therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Matart, following unanimous resolution of the council.
Okay, I'm just trying to get to that part.
Unless I'm reading that wrong.
No. No. Yeah, and the other ones,
The other ones don't have it.
it doesn't actually indicate at all a resolution of council. It
Yeah.
just says a proclaim.
Honestly, I don't have an answer to that. Maybe I'll ask Brittany if you have an answer to that.
Yeah, I just don't think it's a word that necessarily needs to be in there.
Okay.
So I'd prefer to have that word taken out,
Okay.
but that's just me.
It's okay if you would like to request to remove it from that.
Yeah, I just think it's an unnecessary
Okay.
word.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Sure. I don't think that requires any formal motion or amendment. I think we're all okay. Relatively minor change. Okay. Any further discussion before I look for a mover and seconder? Okay, no more questions. The recommendation is that Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council proclaim May 17th, 2023 International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, and Transphobia in the municipality of the County of Kings. Do you have a mover of the motion? Moved by Councillor Granger, seconded by Councillor Armstrong. Discussion on the motion? Mayor Matart.
Well, thank you, Ali, for your presentation. It's appreciated. And once again, I would comment with respect to the issue of the removal of the word unanimous, that doesn't there's no reflection on this particular recommendation. It's a reflection on the form of recommendations that we put forward. And there may be others that are not unanimous, and it would, but it's still the majority direction of council, whether it's with respect to this resolution or any other such resolution. So I wanted to point out that I don't think the comment was directed to this particular resolution. The other thing that needs to be said aloud, I think, is that these communities that are referred to in this particular resolution are deserving of recognition. You look at the history associated with these communities, it's all the more reason to publicly acknowledge their existence, our support for individual choices. The fact that we do that, I think, creates acceptance and natural inclusion, and is perfectly in line with the mantra of this municipality, that it's a municipality where all people belong. So I'll be voting in favor of the motion. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for those comments, Mayor. Councillor Granger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too am voting in favor, and I'm really proud and excited that the municipality is embracing diversity of all kinds. It sets examples and speaks volumes for us. So thank you for your good work, and thank you for the proclamations today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, and I would just add before we call the vote that this one in particular, in the climate we're in, not just south of the border, but in our own country as well, is particularly needed and important for us to be particularly against transphobia, taking a stand. So thank you for your comments, thank you for your presentations, and look for the vote if there's no other comments. I think it's been moved and seconded. All in favor or otherwise, please signify now. And thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you for your time. Just before I go and before I leave you today, I just want to mention one more thing. Ramadan is ending, and the last day should be like Thursday, because it depends on the moon, which can be tricky. So following that, there will be Eid or feast or whatever easier. So just want to bring that up in case you have a friend you want to celebrate, you can wish them happy feast, or if it's in Arabic, I know it's a little bit complicated, it will be Eid Said.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Maybe if you could email us the how to do, and then we can, that'll ensure we get it right, because I think we all want to do our best.
Happy feast will do.
Yeah, well, happy feast to you, my friend.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, number 8. Here we are, just moving along. Financial Services, we have a presentation from Deputy CAO Rob Frost joining us at the microphone this morning regarding a specific grant applicant potentially being reassigned to a different category of grant. So turn it over to Mr. Frost this morning to hear his presentation. Whenever he's ready.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and good morning, committee. So I'll be presenting today about the redirection of a grant application from the GLS Society for Health and Life. So just as a quick note, and I know most of you know that Amy Johnson, who was our grants coordinator, has stepped into another role to fill a maternity leave, parental leave. And in that interim, Joanna McGrath is in the grants role. Both, of course, have been doing excellent work and continue to keep our grants program rolling. Joanna is on vacation, which was planned before she even took this position, so you get me.
A worthy substitute.
I heard that.
Differing opinions up here, but that's nothing new.
So the intent today is for Committee of the Whole to consider the redirection of the GLS Society for Health and Life application from King's Vision Grant to the Community Festivals and Special Events Grant. So as you know, the community grant policy is the format in which the policy tool that we use to approve the grants and to provide information to council that staff follow to implement the grant programs as agreed to. So in section 3.1 of the grants policy, it says that any nonprofit club, association, society, or organization registered in good standing with Nova Scotia Registry Joint Stocks can apply for a grant. So certainly the organization in question is eligible for a grant. And then moving on to section 3.8, there is a couple of things that become relevant to this discussion. One of which is the redirection of applications in section 3.14, where the CAO reserves the right to redirect any application to a more suitable program than the program to which the organization applied. So the two specific grants that come into play in this particular case are the King's Vision grant and then the Community Festivals and Special Events grant. So the Community Festival and Special Events Grant obviously assists community organizations with the cost of festivals, fairs, or special events, marking civic holidays or other noteworthy events. And as you know, the King's Vision Grant is the grant that contributes to municipality's vision of being a community of communities where all people belong. And that one is the larger grant application where the minimum request is $7,500 and there's not a maximum request for the King's Vision. So in this particular case, the GLS Society for Health and Life is a newly formed nonprofit organization whose goal is a one-day concert called County Rocks the Farm. That might be Country Rocks the Farm. Country Rocks the Farm, my apologies on the slide, which is to raise funds to give back to the community, specifically to school food programs from Middleton to Windsor, which is what their application stated. So Country Rocks the Farm will be held in Greenwich, and tickets will be sold at an average of about $60 a ticket, and the society has requested $154,000, a little bit more, through the King's Vision grant. So should council determine the application is eligible for the King's Vision Grant program, consideration of funding will be decided through the Vision Grant process, which will be beginning shortly, probably in the next month or so. And then should council redirect the application to Community Festival and Special Events grant, the maximum award would be $2,000. So we are bringing this to council. As you'll recall, there was an application last year where staff determined that the application might not have been eligible, so we wanted to bring this before council so that you are aware of this discussion, even though there's probably a relative authority under the CAO's purview to have moved this grant. So the alternatives, of course, are that council may deem the application eligible for the King's Vision Grant per the provisions of the policy, and if this is the direction provided by council, this grant will become part of the Vision Grant process in the coming months. And with that, I would provide the recommendation and welcome any questions that the Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council to redirect the GLS Society for Health and Life Grant application to the Community Festivals and Special Events Grant.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Frost this morning? Councillor Armstrong?
I'm just wondering if you could tell me what GLS stands for. I've read this over. I can't see anywhere where it breaks it out.
Excellent question. Just one moment. We'll see if I can. That looks to be the actual title of the organization, so I'm not sure that it's. I'm not sure it's stated. It's just that's the application. Our organization named GLS Society.
Okay, thank you.
I just had a general question about the King's Vision Grant category. Is there a oversubscription this year? Like, I understand that it's tricky because it's sometimes multi-year and all those types of things. What's the general feeling of the King's Vision Grant as a category this year?
So the King's Vision Grant, and I did ask Joanna to provide this to me, so just so there, as usual, it's certainly oversubscribed, and you'll see all this detail, of course, come forward. So again, to make sure that this isn't about, you know, which one it fits in, this is really just whether or not it fits into one of the categories. Total new requests in the King's Vision grant as of today, and again, Joanna's still in the process of going through all the applications. There's a couple of multi-year asks, so actually the total ask is over $2 million. The ask, if you break out those total amounts into annual asks, it is over $800,000, and there's currently a multi-year request of $271,000. So the budget for King's Vision is $600,000. We've got about $800,000 in asks, and we already have committed about $270,000. So there's really only $330,000 available for $800,000 of ask.
Thank you. All subject to change, of course.
Yep.
I have no further lights. Do I have a mover of the motion? Anyone want to move that? Mayor Matart, seconder? Councillor Killam. Discussion on this motion. Mayor Matart.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll be voting in favor of the motion, primarily because I agree that the application itself belongs in this category. It's in the nature of a festival rather than in the nature of a long-term, long-lasting asset to benefit the area. Its vision for the use of its funds is admirable. It's one to which we as a municipality contribute ourselves, of course. $100,000 a year, $200,000 in the first year that we declared our support for school food programs. Whether we put it through this stream or another stream, I think, in fairness, that the ask is perhaps more than a municipality would be taking on, and so it will, I anticipate, be considered in that light. I certainly wish them well. I am certainly hopeful that they're able to proceed with this project. I say that without knowing the locale or the licensing or the conflicts with noise bylaws and that kind of thing, but certainly the end goal, insofar as where they intend to expend their monies, is a good one. But I believe that the application is made into the wrong stream, and I agree with the recommendation of staff that the stream be changed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Matart. Any further discussion? I'll just say that I agree with the mayor's comments. All right, seeing no further discussion, all in favor or otherwise, please signify now. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Council. Next up, we invite Mr. Livingston to the podium to discuss the Valley Waste Resource Management Authority operating and capital budgets. Mr. Livingston, welcome to Committee of the Whole this morning. You have the floor.
Thank you. So this would just be a very brief presentation, and then we can get into any questions that may arise as a result. So on February 21st, 2023, Committee of the Whole received a budget presentation from Valley Waste. It detailed total revenue and expenses of $11.6 million, representing a 5.6% increase over the prior year, and detailed the municipality's share of $4,894,676, representing a 1.6% increase over the previous year. Since then, there's been a small update. No change in the total revenues and expenses, but new party shares have been calculated based on the formula utilizing uniform assessment and population. And so that resulted in the municipality's share going to 73.4% from 73.92%. So our contribution was reduced by $34,205 and is now at $4,860,471. And the purpose of this presentation is to bring forward the Valley Waste specific budgets for our council approval. The process would be for the Valley Waste Board to approve their budget for consideration by the party councils, who would then consider, approve, and then relay that information back to the Valley Waste Board. And the requirement for us to provide our approval is set out in the IMSA for Valley Waste. So that would lead right into the recommendations that Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council approve the 23-24 operating budget for Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management Authority with total expenditures of $11,606,442 and as attached as Appendix A to the April 18th, 2023 request for decision. And then also that Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council approve the 23-24 capital budget for Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management Authority with total expenditures of $2,531,000 and as attached as Appendix A to the April 18th, 2023 request for decision. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions of our presenter this morning? Any questions? I don't see any, so we can handle the first recommendation first regarding the operating budget of $11.6 million. Do I have a mover of the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Armstrong. Seconded by Councillor Granger, thank you. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise, please signify now. Always good when the bill comes out a little bit less than we were expecting. The motion carries unanimously, thank you. And the second recommendation regarding the capital budget with expenditures of $2,531,000. So I have a mover of the motion, Councillor Armstrong. I think I keep missing people as I turn my head. Councillor Allen, I'll take you over there. Discussion on this motion. Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise, please signify now. And of course, for the benefit of those listening online or watching online this morning, these are all recommendations to municipal council, so these do get considered a second time at our municipal council meetings. Thank you, Mr. Livingston, for your presentation. Enjoy the rest of your day. Ms. Brooke, welcome to council. And you're leading us through the procurement policy changes, I understand. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, Deputy Mayor, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So I'm here to present some limited amendments to the procurement policy this morning. And while I am the one presenting, I would also like to acknowledge the assistance of Mr. Barr and Mr. Livingston in getting the policy to committee this morning. The recommended changes at this time are quite limited, but they are important changes that will bring about more accuracy in the policy as well as facilitate project work undertaken by staff. The policy was first adopted in 2011, last amended in 2019, and at that time it was a very limited review to the topic of tender openings. In a similar fashion now, the recommended amendments are limited to two areas. The first is in section 6.5. We're recommending the spending authorization change for managers be set at $10,000 from the present $5,000. The reason for this change is to enable managers to advance their approved projects in a more timely manner. Secondly, we're recommending changes to titles throughout to reflect actual job titles. So at the time it was written, titles were manager and supervisor, and now they are director and manager. And there are also just a number of small typographical, non-substantive changes. I would like to note that while the recommended amendments are very limited right now. There will be a forthcoming review that will be far more comprehensive, and you will, not to prognosticate about what it might look like, but it will be a far more comprehensive and probably overhaul of the policy as we know it now. The recommendation is on the screen, but I can take any questions of the committee.
Are there any questions of Ms. Brooke this morning? It's all very straightforward, I think. Have no questions. Thank you for your presentation. The recommended motion is that Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council provide 7 days notice per Section 48, subsection 1, the Municipal Government Act, to amend Policy FIN 05006, Procurement. Do I have a mover of the motion? Moved by Councillor Allen. Seconded by Councillor Granger. Thank you. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise, please signify now. The motion carries. Thank you very much. That brings us to item 9, correspondence. We have 2 items of correspondence in front of us. One from the Kings County Federation of Agriculture regarding the Scotts Bay campground, and the second is a letter regarding the rezoning application for file number 21 to 25 Campground Scotts Bay. So different communication for the same issue. Could I have a motion to receive the correspondence? Moved by Councillor Hurdle, seconded by Councillor Allen. Thank you. It's getting a workout over there. Any discussion on the correspondence? The motion. Seeing none, all in favor, please signify now. While we wait for the results of that vote, this does bring us to the end of our agenda for the most part. We do have a special council but we will have a recess in between these 2 meetings. Councillor Hurdle, do you have any other business?
Just an answer to a question that was asked earlier, and I was also wondering the same, where GLS comes from in the naming, and it was, I'm reading it was named after their 3 kids.
Oh.
So I thought that would be an answer that may shed some light.
GLS, okay, thank you for that. Any other business to come before the meeting today? Okay, we have no public in attendance this morning, so we will skip right by that. Again, we will have a recess for 15 minutes, so we will begin our special council at 10:30. Could I please have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councillor Granger, seconded by Councillor Armstrong. All in favor or otherwise, please signify now. We'll see you at 10:30. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for their participation. Motion carries. We are adjourned. All right, folks, we are back. Welcome to our second meeting of the day. Today's Tuesday, April 18th, 2023. We're having a special council meeting immediately following this morning's committee of the whole meeting. My name is Deputy Mayor Emily Lutz, and I regularly chair on the third Tuesday of the month. So welcome to those listening online and maybe watching online. We'll begin this morning by taking roll call. All councillors are present, with the exception of Councillor Meisner, after which we will look for a motion to excuse her absence. All councillors accounted for in the voting system. Could I have a motion to excuse Councillor Meisner from attendance today? Councillor Allen, seconded by Councillor Armstrong. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify now. Motion carried. Councillor Allen, did you intend to vote? Yes. That's okay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next, a motion to approve the agenda this morning. Moved by Mayor Matart, seconded by Councillor Armstrong. Motion to approve the agenda. All right. Discussion, additions, deletions, comments, concerns on the agenda. Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise, please signify now. Motion carried. Thank you. Are there any items of conflict of interest that any councillor wishes to disclose this morning? Any conflict of interest for anything on the approved agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to item 4, delivery of councillor resignation. Jim Winsor, Yanni Postuma, the municipal clerk, will be presenting on this item.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and good morning, Council. I'll be very brief. As you know, Councillor Winsor submitted a letter of resignation on April the 11th. Per Section 17, subsection 1 of the Municipal Government Act, a resignation is effective on delivery by the clerk to the next meeting of Council. That is today, and I am therefore delivering the resignation to you today. And just by way of information, the nominating committee will meet this afternoon to make recommendations to council to replace Councillor Winsor on the boards and committees of which he was a member. And obviously we need to have a special election in District 8, and information on that will be coming to council very shortly.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Postuma, for your presentation. And are there any questions from council? Mayor Matart, and then Councillor Armstrong.
So this has been, through you, Deputy Mayor, to Ms. Postuma, this has been delivered by the councillor, and it's being presented to this special meeting of council. Is a resolution required to receive it?
Thank you. Through the chair to Mr. Mayor. A resolution is actually not required per the Municipal Government Act, but we could certainly have a motion to receive the resignation.
Okay, thank you.
And we do have a motion prepared.
Then I would move that we receive the resignation letter, or rather, I would move that we receive the report of the clerk, and then I would like to speak to the motion, please.
Sure. I'll go to Councillor Armstrong, and then we'll get to your motion to receive the presentation. Councillor Armstrong.
Yeah, maybe I'm out of order, or just out of sync. I just wanted to make some comments. So we can wait till the motion goes on the floor. I'm fine with that.
Perfect. Okay, Councillor Granger, you're of the same mind? Okay. Okay, sorry, Councillor. You want, it's for after. Oh, gotcha. I'll get you. Apologies. Mayor Matart, you're moving that council receive the presentation of the clerk.
I am. Do we have a seconder?
Councillor Armstrong.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to comment on the councillor's long service and dedication to the municipality. I think it's important for the purposes of the record that I do that. Councillor Winsor was on council before I came to council. I believe he was elected with the 2012 council, if I'm not mistaken. And he has been representative for his district, which includes the New Minas area as the main residential area that he represented. I want to acknowledge that he's been a tireless worker on behalf of that community and that district that he represented, and that he has come to council with a number of credentials that have been of use to council throughout our deliberations process, and that he will be missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I guess I just wanted to say that Councillor Windsor's resignation came as a shock, but I wanted to pass along my thanks for his dedication, as the Mayor has said, and just to say that it was an honor to serve with him on this council for the years that we were together. We didn't always agree on things, but that's the way councils work. But we always had respect for each other in our own opinions, differing or not. And so I wish him the very best, to him and his family, and I hope to see him again soon. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Councillor Hurdle?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I feel I should say a little something on Councillor Winsor, since he will no longer be working with us at this table. I learned a lot from him, his ability to ensure that he has a point and a question to bring forward on just about every topic. I think that shows he was prepared and informed of the material, and wanted to make sure that it was engaged to the fullest extent. And I learned that as a counselor, you may not always, as Councillor Armstrong says, you may not always agree, but you are still very professional, and that leaves any disagreement stays behind at the council table, and you can maintain a professional and friendly working relationship around the council table, and then leave the table and you leave as friends. So that is a tremendous lesson I learned from Councillor Winsor, and I was disappointed to see his resignation, and I can appreciate maybe some of his concerns that brought him to his resignation, and still I would have liked to serve the remainder of the term with him. So I thought that should be said. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anything further from council? I'll just add that there's no question that Councillor Winsor was a very fierce advocate for the things he believed in, and approached the job with great passion. So we do wish him all the best in whatever the future holds for him. Seeing no more lights, I'll call the question. All in favor or otherwise of receiving the presentation, please signify now. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving to item 5, Engineering, Public Works, Lands and Park Services. We invite Director Quinn to the podium to discuss approval of a change order allocation for Aylesford Lake Beach Washroom.
Thank you, through you, Council. So just discussing a change order has been submitted for the Aylesford Lake Beach Washroom. There is an existing treatment system out there, but some additional testing that's gone on recently has indicated that that equipment will require upgrades to be able to be sufficient to meet Nova Scotia environment requirements for a number of items. The change order is for just over $72,000 for equipment and installation. The contingency fund that was approved for the project is around 69,800, of which about 9,800 has been committed to date, net everything. So council approval is required for, as a total project change order is greater than 50,000 as per procurement policy. So as noted, the change order exceeds the contingency by about just shy of $12,300. That reallocating a portion of the budget not originally intended for the contract that was awarded for this particular project, but it does allow this overage to be absorbed within the main GL 21,371,115 for park facility upgrades. The portion that will cover the overage will be taken from the consulting portion of the budget, which had 50,000 earmarked for that, for initially for future year consulting work. So in terms of the financial implication, be funded from GL, from the parks facility upgrades GL, which is in the approved 23-24 capital budget, which has a total overall budget of $1,065,825. 22-23 year-end forecast project spending is at $257,900 roughly, plus budget carryover of $385,333, as well as a new budget allotment of $327,595. So that the recommendations that Municipal Council authorize a change order to contract 22-05 Aylesford Lake Beach Washroom in the amount of $72,306, including non-recoverable HST funded from GL 21-3-371-115, park facilities upgrade pursuant to section 17.3C of policy FIN 0506 procurement.
Okay, do we have any discussion on the recommended motion? Councillor, or guess, sorry, not discussion on the motion, questions of the presenter. We haven't had the motion yet. Councillor Armstrong.
So this is the water treatment system out at Aylesford Lake Beach, right?
Correct.
And so when you were preparing the tender, I'm assuming that you didn't take into consideration the water treatment system and the fact that it may have to be upgraded, and didn't have the Department of Environment come in and check it to see, based on what you were wanting to do, that it would be sufficient?
Through you to Councillor Armstrong, it was included as a provisional item in the tender originally, and there was ongoing discussions with Nova Scotia Environment. We were still hoping with those discussions that it would still not as much of an upgrade as unfortunately has been required based on the final evaluation from the consulting engineer who's been working on the project.
Okay.
And Mayor Matart?
I'm still a bit confused. So what has changed? I'm sorry, through you, Deputy Mayor, to Mr. Quinn. What has changed, Mr. Quinn, on the water side? Is it a volume issue? Apart from what we knew at square one, is it? I assume that we were getting water, were we?
Correct, yes.
A drilled well?
Correct.
And so what has changed? Is this a volume issue? Has the water always been less than satisfactory or less than potable and we just didn't know it? Or what has brought us to this point? Is it new information on water quality? I don't understand what's transpiring.
Certainly, through you to Mayor. The water quality has been a known issue, that there had been an existing treatment system that was, this particular well was originally designed to handle the canteen that's out there. It hasn't necessarily been in operation. But when you factor in the additional water usage from the washroom facility plus the canteen, plus also some further follow-up testing, and some of this has been, I would say, one of the parameters in particular has dropped since the original testing system was designed. So arsenic is the particular constituent. So the treatment system was satisfactory for that, but in the process of all this, the federal regulations have dropped the allowable limit down further. So that's why we're sort of here. And then there's been a couple other items that similarly there's been changes in the allowable limits. So we're end up that we have an existing treatment system that was adequate for when the park was open pre-COVID versus where we've landed now. And unfortunately, just with supply chain costs and everything else, it's like we were hoping it was going to come in lower than this, but unfortunately, the costs have come in higher than what was originally anticipated.
Thank you. And just one follow-up, if I may. Madam Chair, thank you. Has there been any other change in the contract as originally presented to us? Because it was sticker shock the first time it came around.
I would say there has been a couple change orders, a couple for additional costs. We did receive a bit of a credit on some of this work, obviously not to offset all of this, but at this point we're fairly far along the project. I wouldn't say there's zero chance of a further change order, but we're only about 2 months away from opening. We're not expecting a particular, or certainly a significant change orders. Outside of this one, most of them have been in the few $1,000s range, so relatively low amount. So,
thank you.
Thank you. So the recommended motion is that Municipal Council authorize a change order to contract number 2205, Aylesford Lake Beach Washroom, in the amount of $72,306, including non-recoverable HST, for and from GL 21-3-371-115, park facility upgrades pursuant to Section 17.3, subsection C of Policy FIN 05006, Procurement. Moved by Councillor Harding. Do we have a seconder of the motion? Seconded by Councillor Allen. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise, please indicate now. Thank you, Mr. Quinn, for your presentation, for keeping us up to date. And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. The next two items will not require presentation, as they've already been presented this morning at Committee of the Whole. So the first motion is regarding the redirection of the grant application. So I'll just wait for it to come up on the screen, because of course my agenda is pending the approval at Committee of the Whole. I could probably find, oh, here we are. So 6A, that Municipal Council redirect the GLS Society for Health and Life grant application to the Community Festivals and Special Events Grant. Do I have a mover of that motion? Moved by Councillor Hurdle. Seconded by Mayor Matart. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise, please indicate now. Motion carries. Thank you. And the second is regarding the procurement changes. That Municipal Council provides 7 days notice per Section 48, Subsection 1, Municipal Government Act to amend Policy FIN-05-006 Procurement. Mover of the motion from Council, Councillor Harding and Mayor Matart. Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise, please signify now. Thank you. The motion carries unanimously. We're at item 7, other business. I would, because I think I anticipated our meeting going a bit longer today, we did not make it to 12 o'clock to have a moment of silence. So would ask that we have a moment of silence now in honor of the mass shooting victims and the survivors, quite frankly, who are now living in the community and with the trauma they've experienced through the actions that took place in 2020 in Portapique, Nova Scotia. So I would ask we just take a moment of silence in honor of those. Thank you. May no community ever suffer such a tragedy again. And as a reminder, it will happen again at 12 o'clock province-wide, so you may take another opportunity at that time if you wish. Is there any other business to come before the meeting? I think maybe we just sort of wait on the Avon erosion issue. Maybe we can expect an update from staff at some point in the coming month, pending reaching the staff from West Hands reaching out to our staff. So we'll kind of wait for that. Councillor Granger, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm not sure if this is the time or place, but I'm going to ask anyway. Because I've never kind of been through the councillor resigning and a new election coming, the nomination committee is going to be meeting today, but I was wondering if we fill Councillor Windsor's positions, the new person coming on will take that over eventually, or I'm not sure how that works. I was just wondering.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I expect when we have a new councillor appointed, we would have another nominating committee meeting and relook at the assignments then. But I think it's new to all of us. That's not something I've experienced in my tenure.
Okay.
I don't know. I think that's probably the process. Yeah, unless Mr. CIU think differently. I'll let him speak to it.
Thank you, Deputy. So my understanding is that I think as you're insinuating that there would be a holdover period where the roles that are currently or were occupied by Councillor Winsor would then be shared among this council for the period of time between now and the election, and then there'd be a second nomination committee meeting.
Yeah. So whatever the nominating committee decides this afternoon will be temporary, basically.
Okay. Yep, just wondering. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good question. Councillor Armstrong.
I have something else to say, but just to Councillor Granger, the nominating committee normally meets in November to look at all the nomination or the committee and board positions to see if any councillors are looking to maybe change and all that. So that's a normal practice in November. Whether or not we'll be having an election before November is quite another thing and not under my purview. So we'll work with that. The one thing that I did want to say, and it's not a matter of business, it's just I had an opportunity to view the video of the UARB hearing for our boundary review. And I just wanted to pass along my congratulations to staff because the members of the UARB board that were here were very complimentary to our staff and the amount of work and presentation that they made. And I was very proud of them. I don't think there was a question that was asked that wasn't answered quickly and very thoroughly. And I just thought they did a great job, and I wanted to thank them. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Councillor Armstrong. I really appreciate you bringing that forward today. Councillor Hurdle.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and I just wanted to draw the attention of those listening in and those in the minutes to look at yesterday's news at the announcement of the Exit 14A interchange coming to Cambridge, and with the hundreds of people that have reached out to me with concerns of traffic jam-ups in Colebrook, I think this may be a partial solution, if not full solution, to the issues we're experiencing currently. And it's great news for the community and will impact not just District 6, but our entire county. So it's something to tune into, and the news can be found on our municipal website, the provincial website, and other news sources. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Hurdle. Very exciting news for our community. Yeah, definitely. Apologies. Any other business to come before the meeting? And we have no public joining us this morning. So with that, I look for a motion to adjourn into a closed session. I don't anticipate any motions. A good thing we're adjourning because I'm falling apart up here. Any motions coming from closed session? It's just updates. So I'd look for a motion to adjourn into closed session, not to be returned from. Moved by Councillor Harding, seconded by Councillor Granger. Thank you very much. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify now. And always, I would like to thank anyone who listened online or watched online today, who pays attention to the goings-ons of the municipality. We appreciate your engagement, and thanks to staff for their presentations, their good work, and as always, council for your participation. The motion to adjourn carries. We are adjourned in camera.